Tri Plant Grill here. Just a quick one. I'm out here, I'm harvesting my tomatoes, and I thought you might like to see what kind of tomatoes I'm getting off this time of year. I wanted to show you some of the really big tomatoes that are growing on my plants this year. I think I have some of the biggest that I've had yet. So just gonna give you a really quick go through of the tomatoes that I have growing here, and I'll show you what I've harvested after I've got them off the plant. So I'm gonna start here. These are my mortgage lifter tomatoes, and they're growing nice tomatoes. Had a few of them. I'm not totally convinced on the flavor of them yet. They're not a bad tasting tomato, but they're not one that I would want to just slice up and eat so much in a sandwich or whatever, but they're good for cooking with and you know, making into a dish with other things. But some of them are just huge. Like I have this one here, it's getting damaged on the stem, so I think I'll take it in. They get a little bit darker than this. I don't find they get super dark red like some, but look at this one. I was trying to leave this on the vine, but again, it's pushing against the plant. It's getting so heavy, so I think I'm going to harvest it today. So I'll give it a weigh just to see what it weighs. Most of them are more around this size. That one plant seems to be growing really big ones, but the plant is growing well. Getting a fair amount of tomatoes. There's a little bit of, looks like tip burn. I don't think it's like a blight or anything on the leaves, but so I'm going to harvest these ones off of here and we'll move on to the next one. So I took 5 tomatoes off of that, off of 2 plants. The one plant in the middle didn't have anything ripe yet, but I have been harvesting off of it already. In behind these, if we can get to them, it looks like there's a big branch that's a big sucker that's maybe gotten away from me. There's the Japanese Black Trifele, and that's them there. That might be, yeah, it's kind of fasciated. They're stuck together, those two. It's a nice tomato. I find it a little bit salty in flavor, which I like in tomatoes. Some of them, I think it was this one that seemed just a little bit on the mealy side, but not too bad. And it seems to be producing well. So again, I'm gonna take the tomatoes off of this plant here. There's 3 plants. It looks like 2 of them have tomatoes on them. Again, one of them, well, it has tomatoes, but they're not ripe yet. So leave those. So I took 4 off of that plant. Well, 3, I guess. These 2 are actually fused together. Oh, and then there was, I guess there's 3 there, and then this one, so 4, I guess. And there is more on there, but they're not quite ripe, so I'm gonna leave them. Another one up there. I'll leave them a few more days. Then I have a Manitoba tomato. The other 2 were indeterminate so far. This one is a determinate tomato, so it's a little bit smaller bush variety, and it's hanging pretty thick. But as you can see, like, they're not all ripe at once, like people say, but I mean, they do ripen quickly. Here in our climate, that's not as big of a deal. So get these ripe ones off and see what we wind up with. Okay, so I got 15 of those. These are just a nice all-around slicing tomato to me.
This is usually more the average size. They seem to be a little bit smaller mostly this year, but it's okay, they're still a good tomato. So, next one we're going to look at is the San Marzano. So, these plants here are the San Marzano. These are a paste tomato, and they are also a determinate tomato. I'd heard a lot of people really like them compared to Romas. I'm not sure about that. I'm not loving the flavor, and they seem to grow about the same size and everything, so I don't know if I like them any more than the Romas, but there's a few here that are ready to take off, so I'm going to take those off. So there was 4 of those. It's probably the nicest one. This one's kind of interesting shaped, not quite as ripe, but it'll still be ready to go tomorrow. There's that one there, and that one. So nice enough tomato, just I wouldn't rave about them being way better than the Romas. They're a little bigger, I guess. Now these are my Romas, and these are a determinate as well, and they have a lot more fruit hanging on them. They're on the outside of the row, whereas the San Marzanos are on the inside, and that might be keeping them from ripening as fast, a little less sun on them. But I have lots here that are ready to come off, so I'm going to pop those off. So I pulled 10 of those off the vine. That's about the average size. So this one is a San Marzano, and that one's a Roma. Just to give you a comparison how they look. They're close to the same size. I think the San Marzanos are growing a bit bigger. The Romas seem to be producing more, but again, they're on the outside. That might have something to do with it. More pollinators getting to them, maybe. They're getting more shook from the wind. Nice tomatoes. I believe this is the last variety, is Black Krim. And these are growing nice big tomatoes again this year. I had one the other day that was, I think it was 15 ounces. I think I took a photo, so I'll try and find that for you. They're not getting as dark looking this year as they usually do. Not sure why, but they're soft and ripe at this stage, and that's something that I find a little difficult to tell with these tomatoes, but they're soft, they're ready to come off. So just a couple here. I think I have 4 plants of these. I believe there's 3 plants of everything else, so I'll pop these off. That's those 3 there. 1, 2, and 3. Give you an idea how big they are. So that's the tomatoes out in the garden. Let's pop in the greenhouse and have a look at what's in there. So these were just the leftovers after I'd planted my tomatoes in the ground, replaced a few that died off because I plant early, and I'd given a bunch away. And they are producing for me. These ones are looking a little bit sick to me, so I'm not sure what to think. I've never grown them inside like this before. Less air circulation. I'm not sure what's happening here, but there are some that are ready to come off, so we'll see. It looks like here they're just kind of mishmashed in the pots, but it looks like this one here is a San Marzano that's ready. There's a mortgage lifter back there, and you can see they're growing a lot lot smaller, but they're in these little pots and they're jammed. I have 3 plants to a pot. This is a Roma. I think these are all Roma in this pot. There's another one right back and behind. This is a Japanese Black Trifele. Nothing ripe on it right now. I think this plant, yeah, this pot's all Japanese Black Trifele. None of them are ripe right now. That's a Black Krim right there. And that looks like that's all that's right, but they are hanging with tomatoes. They're much smaller in the pots, but that's to be expected. They have less root space. Over here, oh, this is the mystery one. I don't know what it is. Oh no, I do. That's a Japanese Black Trifele because it has the potato leaves. And then I have a few little mini bell peppers in with these ones up here as well. So I'm gonna pop off the couple that are ready in here. So there's the ones from the greenhouse. There's 3 Japanese Black Trifele, and then there was the one mortgage lifter. This one actually, I think the side of the greenhouse is moving around the wind, and I think it's beating this tomato up. And I just dropped it, so now it's split. And this is a Black Krim. It maybe could have been on a little bit longer, but it'll ripen in the house. These tomatoes aren't doing as well, and I'm getting a lot more blossom end drop, but they're not getting watered as consistently. The other ones are on drip. These ones have to rely on me to remember to come out here, but they're doing all right for extra tomatoes. So the last tomatoes that we're going to look at are my pots with the cherry and salad sized tomatoes in them. So I'm gonna turn the camera around and we'll have a look at those. If you've seen some of my other videos about the tomatoes, then you'll have seen that I have 2 of these pots. There's one here and one on the other side of the shed, and they each have 3 tall indeterminate plants of cherry tomatoes and a little bit of nasturtiums and basil struggling along at the bottom. These ones here were supposed to be the chocolate sprinkles tomatoes. They're not. I don't know what they are. They were purchased seed, but that's not what they are. I don't know if they're crossing with these blush tomatoes. I don't know enough about that to know if that can happen with tomatoes this close together. I don't normally have an issue with it. But these here are the blush. It's a new variety that I'm trying this year. Very nice. This is pretty much what they look like when they're ripe, is this one right here. Here's some tomatoes that I had in the house already, and there's 2 of those blush tomatoes. And these ones are just a little bit past where I would like to eat them. I find when they get more red like this, they get a little bit mealy. It's a slight difference. Here's the one I picked today. And that's the one that's been sitting in the house, and you can just barely see the difference, but this one has just a little bit more of that yellowy orange hue and less of that pinky red. This one's the other way, and I find when they get to this point they're a little bit mealier, and I prefer the flavor and the texture like this. But an interesting tomato, and I'll probably grow them again. Very juicy. For the most part, I'm really liking these. They're a little bit tough skinned, but they're pretty delicious. And here in the other pot, I have 1 plant each of, again, what's supposed to be the chocolate sprinkles. In behind it, there's the blush. And then this is a plant from some saved seed from some orange Monarch. So orange Monarch's a hybrid, and I really can't remember now if this is quite right for those or not, but they're a nice tomato, and they're just a little bit, most of them have been just a little bit bigger than this, but they're starting to peter out a bit almost in their size, so that's okay. This is a better size for snacking on. But so I'm going to harvest what's ripe off of these pots here.
So I hope you like that quick little look at what I'm harvesting out of the tomato plants, off the tomato plants right now. And I'm making lots of salsa, eating my tomatoes fresh. I'll be stewing some, and I've made some pasta sauce that I put in the freezer, so I'll put these to good use, and I've also been giving lots away too. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye. That's the tomatoes I pulled out of the garden today. So I have some mortgage lifter. When they're ripe, they almost have like a pinky orange hue to them, I think. So those ones aren't quite ripe, but they're starting to rub on the plant and get marks on them. And then I have some Japanese Black Trifele. They have a darker shoulder. There's a mixture of Manitoba, Roma, and San Marzano. This is Black Krim. These are my mystery tomatoes that were supposed to be chocolate sprinkles, but are not. Someone suggested maybe an atomic grape purple tomato, I'm not sure. There's the blush. And these are from saved seed from Orange Monarch. So, not a bad haul for one day. And yes, I've been picking them all week, so that's not my first picking of the week. I've been getting, say, at least a pound of tomatoes every day or two, if not more.